Hi, my name is Jeremy. This is Red Beans Recording, and I swear to God, I cannot keep this Digitone straight. Welcome to probably what's going to be a second video about the Elektron Digitone, the powerhouse Groovebox FM synthesis, Groovebox from Elektron, Swedish company that you know and love. I have no creative ambition these days, and I'm using the Digitone as sort of a therapeutic device, much like you would electroshock therapy, and just kind of sitting with it and playing with it. And in the last video, we sort of stumbled through making a bass sound, and in this video, we're going to work on a pad sound because goddamn, this thing is good at pads. Switch to an empty pattern. There's a bass sound we made last time. So, like we said before, you always start off with this beautiful sine wave. And the first thing that I like to do when I'm making pads is head on over to my effects section. Function button will access any of these things that are underneath here. I hope you can see those when I zoom in. There are three effects here. We have chorus, we have delay, and we have reverb. And one of the options with all three of these here is to send the affected signal here. So in this case, the delayed signal through the effect that's next to it. So what this means is if I were to right now, okay, cool. So I'm going to go back to my amp page real quick, and I'm going to turn up the delay. So now we have a nice delay. We can go in here. Actually, let's make this a little bit more interesting. Cool. Okay. So if I go to my delay, I'm going to widen it. I love it. You can also see here we have a high pass, low pass filter to filter the delay sound, the width of it, the time of it, and feedback. And again, if you hold down the encoder when you're turning this, you will get divisions of 4, which is useful because instead of being normal and telling you the amount of time, like a dotted quarter note or a dotted eighth note that the delay time is, Elektron was like, what if we just give them numbers? Everybody loves numbers. And they were like, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's not tell them divisions of musical notes because it's not a musical instrument, right? Okay, so I set my thing to delay. Now, if I send my thing to the reverb as well, by going back to this page, I will get the sound being sent to the delay over here and the reverb over here. And that's great. Sometimes you want your signal to be reverbed immediately, but I also want my signal to be, my delayed signal to be reverbed. So I'm going to go back to the delay thing here and turn up my send to the reverb. Now my delay is reverbed as well. And I'm telling you, for pads, we're halfway there, honestly. Like, you just need a reverb. I'm going to make my reverb long. Boop. And I pass it a little bit. Okay. I'm going to turn the ARP off because we're making a pad and you don't fucking arpeggiate pads. Christ. Okay. Oh my God, I vaped. Now I got vape everywhere. I'm sorry. I got to have my vape. Okay, we're done. Sounds great. There's a couple things that you could start with here. You could start with doing that and making your amp all slow and long if you want to, but we obviously want to make the sound more interesting. So let's start playing with our operators here. Okay, I'm going to synth 2. That's nice. So that operator A, which is the second operator in this FM chain now, I'm using the envelope to bring it in slowly and then sustain it. And then I just turn the ratio up so I have to sort of a non-normal amount. It's 2.25 as opposed to like an even amount. 2 would give us something a lot more harmonically normal. Basically an octave, it sounds like. I think 4 would do the same. Yeah, it's an octave up. So the numbers really start to make sense, even though it's not really apparent what you're doing. But if you're thinking of like 1 as your octave for the sine wave that you're using, and then you go up to 2, that's your next octave. 3 is going to be that next octave, and et cetera, et cetera. I could be wrong, but that's what it sounds like to me. But I liked the sound of 225 here. This was cool. We get some nice overtones. So let's go back to that. Cool. I'm going to drop my carrier for a second to a deeper amount. And honestly, the way that I've been using the Digitone to make sounds is just experimenting a ton. There are so many little sweet spots in here with the way that the operators interact that you can really get a lot of variation. So experimentation is the key here. So I want this to be mellow, so I don't want to get too crazy here. I think in the last video I was talking about how much I like the sound of the way the B operator overtones sound. I really like that harmonic movement there. And you can LFO that, which is really nice. So let's try this. Okay, that's kind of interesting. So I just swept through the algorithm that I wanted to maybe see if I can get something a little bit more interesting, a little less insane. I also turned down the harmonics of the that were affecting the carrier operator there because it was a little too harsh for me. I have these 2 other operators, A and B, right there. I have them fading in and then fading out, and that's really cool because I have them set to different overtones amounts. And I really want that when we return and start, I really want that main carrier to be as pure as possible because I like the idea of movement throughout the overtone series and the harmonics and the little harshness there, but I want it to come back to smoothness, and that's kind of what we have going on. Cool. So at this point, I've got something I'm kind of interested in. I would probably mess with the filter at this point just to see if it was interesting at all. So I don't really need a filter right now. And while I was doing that, I was like, well, this is an okay pad, but it's actually a nicer pluck. So you may find yourself when you're messing with the Digitone, at least if you're just sitting around experimenting, that you may find yourself in a different place than when you thought you would when you started. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, like being swept away into the process of something is part of the fun. And I don't have any other synths. I guess maybe the Access Virus, which is like my beefcake subtractive synth, where I can just sit and tweak knobs for a while and just get lost in sound design. But I guess because FM is a little bit more alien to me, I find myself losing myself in the moment. You own it, you better never let it go. Oh. I mean, if you think about it, you really only get one chance. So don't blow this opportunity. You better get mom's spaghetti. All right. Let's go and see if anything else here makes this sound more interesting. Because the bat is a little alien and growly, a little bit of drive is not a bad thing. That's nice. I want more of that. Cool. All right. So we already have our sends going on there. Now it's LFO time. First thing we want to do is turn down those multipliers like we talked about in the last video, because default multiplier is 256 times your speed right here, and we don't need that. We don't want that fastness. So one of the fun things about this is, let's just go ahead and hold on the encoder and move this up to like 8 or 16. And the reason I'm doing that is because so much of this is numerically based, like the ratios and stuff like that are all based on divisions of other frequencies or other numbers. Like we saw earlier in the A operator, we have 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, stuff like that, which turned into musically significant things. And when I go over to the LFO and I'm going to start sweeping through the destination for this modulation, I want my depth to be a number that will theoretically move that up and down. It's musically significant thing, if that makes any sense. Because it's all based on the ratios and the numbers. So lots and lots of destinations here for your LFO. And there's more and other ones in the second one here. So don't forget to check both of them and get to know them so that you know which one to reach for. So let's see what we got here. We can actually have it go through, the algorithm itself. It will LFO that algorithm right there, which is actually kind of cool. What if I did this? What if I went over to this one, which is going to go... That's cool. Let's speed it up. Let's actually turn this multiplier up. And let's go... That's wild. Already getting some very unexpected and cool results. What you're hearing there is, because the algorithm is changing, you are getting what's being mixed to the X and Y, and how those, X and Y being the two mixable destinations for your operators, you're hearing them express themselves differently as the algorithm changes, which is really, really cool. All right, so now we can go to the things like ratio. Whoops, you have to confirm your LFO destination. So let's go ahead and do that. And we're going to turn this down. So this is one of my favorite things here. So fucking cool. Especially with that reverb and space going on. Let's turn that up a bit. So what you're hearing right now is it's sweeping through the ratio for our carrier wave. And because we talked about this earlier, like the carrier and the modulator operators are all sort of tuned to these intervals. And that's what you're hearing there. I personally like to do it. Let's see. Ooh, that's neat. In the way that we have this set up right now, it's not going to give me the effect that I was looking for operator B. But this overtone sweeping thing is usually what I get from doing this to operator B. So when we have this like this, we can do some interesting things. Let's go ahead and change this to the exponent down thing, and change the mode. So you can already hear that it's going to start sweeping down now as opposed to going up and down. And let's go ahead and change the trig mode to 1. Now what this means is every single time I hit that, it's going to sweep through the overtones once. Which is just so cool. You can already hear that this might be one way that you could get sort of a tom or a bass drum thing out of here. If I turn this all the way down here, we've just made a percussion. That's what the kids call it, right? A percussion. But we don't want to do that. So let's go ahead and turn our speed back down and okay, so I don't actually want this as my destination here. It's a really cool effect, and I wanted to show it off, but I don't want this to be the actual thing. So let's go back to our LFO and try some different things here. So now that's affecting ratio A, and that's actually a pretty cool effect. We hear a more subdued stepping. I really like that. Super cool. We're going to leave that there and go to LFO2 and make sure that we have our multiplier turned down. Turn the depth up a bit. Now in LFO2, you have the ability to tell LFO1 to be modulated by LFO2, and then things get kind of insane at that point. For instance, I can have LFO2 modulate the LFO1 waveform. This is actually turning into a very cool sound. Anyways, let's go ahead and try out some other stuff. I don't want that filter on there. Ooh, that's cool. So now it's modulating the mix between our carrier. Actually, it's modulating the mix between the X and the Y here. And depending on which algorithm you have, the output to X and Y is going to be different. I'm really starting to like this. It's almost got a formant quality to it. Alright, well this video has turned out to be probably about 20 minutes long? Yeah, maybe longer? I don't know. And the neighbors are about to start making a bunch of noise. So that's a second walkthrough through the sound engine and sort of what you might think about doing when you're talking about making a pad. Very, very easy to get spacey and do sound design with this thing that you probably haven't done with other synthesizers. And since it's all hands-on here and everything is visible, it's just real nice to do on the Digitone. So, I don't know what we're going to do in the next video. We might do another sound patch. I'm not sure. Maybe we'll do a more traditional thing next time. Just make some traditional sounds. I don't know. I have no idea. My life is in shambles, and this is my therapeutic shock treatment right here. My name's Jeremy. This is Red Means Recording. I hope you have a great day. I'll talk to you later. Bye.